surprise. Get ready for it.
Alright guys, so up next we have Anesidora or Pandora. She's a free unit that we get. She's a shimmer support. When you get her, she seems a little underwhelming for some people at first because they don't exactly understand what's going on with her kit, or they're hoping for a little bit more, and I'll explain all of that. And I'll explain it more so of a PvP oriented thing. Like for PvE, since she doesn't work on bosses, like, you know, you can pretty much just understand how I explain it for PvP, right? I am in the Esper gallery. I want to explain her skills at max level up. That way you guys see what she has on her max potential. I really don't want to show like what it's like if you have only 5 skills leveled up, 3 skills leveled up, anything like that, because that just kind of skews it. And I also don't want to show her with like mine, because mine's only level 40. So I'm just going to show her at when you max her out what she can actually do. So with her skills though, it's an important thing to point out that she does not have great attack. She has really nice HP at 15,000. I think it's some of the highest that we have in the game for just base on a, you know, natural 4-star unit. Her defense is like okay. Speed is at 100, which is average. So not too bad of stats. Again, her attack set's not that great, but it doesn't really matter for her kit, right? So S3 grants speed up to the whole team for 2 turns and inflicts Pandora's box on all enemies for 2 turns, removing 50% of current HP from enemies and inflicting stun for 1 turn at the start of their second turn, and gains a bonus turn. So speed up, you get of course extra 30% increased speed. Pandora's box, that's the effect where basically at the start of their second turn removes a certain percentage of HP, inflicts a stun. It's going to be 50% when you max it out, I believe, and then they get stunned. So just remember and think about, this is removing 50% of current HP. So if you have already damaged the enemy and bursted them down and attempted to cleave them, and then this activates, yes, it will not look that great, because now if they're at 40%, it's only taking like, you know, half of that 40%. It's not taking a full 50%. So it's better for, you know, teams if you're patiently waiting, or if you're doing a heavy AP manipulation team and you're just pushing them back and CCing them, preparing and setting up and everything like that. That's what this is for. So you can combine this with like, you know, if you're using Apollo, Hermes, Pritzker, or any huge AoE burster, and you're like just buffing them, getting them ready and prepped, like Rod would go great with this because he needs a couple turns to pretty much ramp up, and you're waiting for 2 turns. But anyways, she gets a bonus turn to where on Doom box, she attacks an enemy twice, each attack dealing damage equal to 20% of attack plus 6% of Pandora's max HP. Has a 60% chance of dispelling 1 buff from the target and then triggering Pandora's box if present. So you can pretty much target 1 unit on the enemy's team and get them out of here. You can get them stunned. You can, you know, dispel a buff that could, you know, hurt you from doing this. And then you stun them. Their 50% HP is gone, because it's not like Pandora is going to kill them and with their S2. Honestly, so they're gone. They're out of here. You don't have to worry about them. This is really good, especially if you're looking at a unit who could be a threat to your team in PvP. You can just get them out of the match. You can stun them and then just kill them off with a single target user that you have, or, you know, if you do happen to cleave, you can do that. But I really wouldn't recommend hitting that second, hitting the whole team. I just hit that 1 unit and just single target them out of here. But really nice that you can just instantly activate your S3 on somebody that you want to choose, right? So our S1 deals damage to an enemy equal to 30% of attack plus 8% of Pandora's max HP, with a 50% chance of inflicting attack down for 2 turns. So this has really low scaling, and so does the S2. So this is somebody you don't want to put attack set on. Putting an attack set and giving them a bunch of attack doesn't actually help her damage. It seems like putting extra HP would help her damage, but like, again, that's not a huge amount of her HP being put into those attacks. So you're not going to be using her for DPS. You're using her for the support to debuff and remove their current HP and, you know, activate the debuff and the stun. That's what you want to use her for. So think about that. So on strategy tab, if you look, The sets are going to be Speed, HP, Speed, Adamantine set, War Machine, and Grove. Don't even look at this. Don't build her like this. Don't put any War Machine set. Don't put Crit set on her. Don't put any of that. None of that's going to work for her. That is not how you want to build her. Speed set is, yes, good because you want her to act fast. You want her to get the debuff out before, you know, before that team has a chance to do everything, because it needs to happen on their second turn. So you want to make sure that Anesidora is able to get that debuff out real quick, let the enemy do their turns and everything like that, and then, you know, it comes in and does its thing. For the second set, Adamantine set, I'm really coming to not like this one. It can help for you if you're wanting to stall, but the fact that this can just be stolen by the amount of Chloes that we have and everybody else who steals buffs like Hyde and Arcana, you got God, there's so many that just steal buffs, and it just becomes kind of useless. I feel like for her, since she does have a stun, even though the Pandora's curse is guaranteed right as a silverback, you still want to build some accuracy on her because you really need that stun to happen, right? Like, you really need that stun to happen because that's going to give you an extra turn. So I would recommend you can still build like HP on her with her other pieces, but put some accuracy on her because you need to make sure that that debuff happens. You could even put some resist on her because, you know, you just don't want her to go down. But honestly, once she does her S3 and her S2, she kind of doesn't really do anything for you for the rest of the fight. Her other attacks just aren't as useful. So again, you don't really need to build too much like HP on her. Again, that's why I say accuracy, because you just need her like stun to happen, and that's really it. You don't need her to last a punch during the fight because she just doesn't do anything. Even though her attacks are based off her HP, she's not going to be killing anybody too major if they have a decent healer. If you don't want to do accuracy, this most popular set is probably the best, where she can survive a little bit, she can do a little bit of damage with her attacks, with her S2 and her S1. But again, it's just going to be her S3 is going to be the main part of her kit. So the people that she can work best with, if you have any of these 5 stars, pretty much anybody who can do a big AoE nuke, right? So if you're going against a team who is really heavily into speed, you could possibly do Donner Nuke with his S2. Wukong is decent with it. Narmer's probably going to be one of the better ones because of his passive. His passive he gets at the start of each turn, he gains these stacks, and then the more stacks he has, the more damage he's able to do. So after their turn, Narmer could pretty much nuke them with his S3, so he's a really great character to use with her. You could also use Li Ling. Li Ling does big AoE damage. If they do happen to get stunned, Tricky's really good because he can, on his S3, extend the debuff. So if you're kind of like pushing them back, or you're trying to just extend any debuffs that you have on them, you have Tricky to extend that. Trying to think, of course, like Gabriel's really good for keeping your team just healed up, but he doesn't really do anything beneficial. She doesn't really do anything beneficial to help Pandora. She's just decent overall. But again, Lucas is really great because he can push them back and help your team get more turns. You have the stuns, because again, if you can stall them in any way, a really great way to fight back against them. And of course, Sienna is really great as well. Of the 4 stars, just pretty much anybody with AoE. Jingman on her debuff would be really good. You could stack that on them. Mona, Celine would be good with her sleep. If you get that activated, you could sleep them and then just try not to hit them. You could sleep them and then just target the one unit that you use the S2 on from Pandora, right? Where you knock them down to 50% instantly. Then you can sleep the whole team and you only target that one unit. That way you can, have the whole team slept. You get another turn and you can just get to the S3 a lot quicker. That is something I actually did when I was in the early stages of PvP. I put the team to sleep. I did the Pandora's Curse because Pandora's Curse doesn't actually do any damage. And then I kind of waited, they got knocked down, and then I bursted them down. And it was really nice. Pretty easy, especially if you're just starting out. But yeah, pretty much anybody here. that does AoE, like Chloe would be really good. Pritzker with the stuns. Anybody here who does AoE would be really good with her. You could also do Long Mian. Long Mian can come in, hit them with a freeze. You have the S3 coming from Pandora. So yeah, a lot of ways that you could take advantage of that. Also using Drew. Drew, once they get knocked down to 50%, Drew can do his S3 and completely annihilate somebody. So she's a really great unit for you. If you don't quite have the damage to knock somebody down all the way to 100%, you can have her knock them to 50%, and now that's all you're really working with, as long as you don't do a bunch of damage to the enemy team. But guys, that's pretty much all I have for Pandora. Again, you can use her in PvP. She is a good unit, guys. You just have to be patient and wait for that second turn, and then you can nuke them. Just stall it out a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You lucky gamers, have a good one. Lucky Lux out.